Hi everyone, it's Alex from the American Guitar Academy again, and today we're going to be talking about improving your fingering on the guitar. Now I should start the video off by saying that most people have a very specific problem which is only really going to be solved by having a teacher who's there in the room with you who can help identify the problem and then help you work on it from there. But there are a few things that we can work on via a video such as this. So let's discuss first what is the actual problem that you're finding with your fingering. So are you trying to learn a piece that's perhaps a bit too difficult? It's too fast maybe, or the fingering's tricky on a certain chord like this E minor 11. That's quite hard to do, so you might need to work on that one, or maybe try just simplified versions, or maybe even put it on the back burner for a while and revisit it later on. That is something that you should really try and think about by yourself. Again, a teacher can help you with that. Let's actually spend some time thinking about the three main issues that are going to cause problems with the notes, for example. So the most common one for beginners is not pressing hard enough. So we know that you need to press with a certain amount of pressure to hear the note nice and clearly. Some beginners can be a bit put off by the fact that, to begin with, it could be a little bit uncomfortable on your fingers. Another issue is pressing or picking in the wrong place. Now this is something I've seen again pretty much for beginners, where you might have your finger on, let's say, the 5th fret of the B string, but you're actually picking the wrong string. That could be a problem as well. And the other final kind of those three reasons would be pressing the string in the right place, the right amount of pressure, but your fingers at the wrong kind of angle, or you're using the wrong part of your finger. So some people would try and use like the pad part of your finger here. And the problem with that is that might be good, but if you want to hear the G string open, you can't because the rest of your finger's touching it. It could be something like that. So the solution to those three problems would be as follows. So if you're not pressing hard enough, press harder. If you're not picking or pressing in the right place and it sounds odd as a result, double check each hand, make sure you're doing exactly what you should be doing, and then in response to picking or playing correctly but in the wrong place, just make sure that you're using the very tip of your finger, and then have your finger curled round nicely, unless there's a specific technique in which you need to press your whole finger down. But for the most part, you're going to be using the tips of your fingers. Okay, now let's also think about some goals that you want to set yourself. So if you're trying to learn, let's say, something like this, now that's not too tricky, but if you're going to try and play that in 16th notes at 150 ppm, that's going to be really hard. So let's try and do 8th notes at 80 ppm. So you might be able to randomly, with a sporadic burst of speed, be able to play it really fast and then not be able to repeat that. That's kind of doesn't mean that you've actually learned how to do it properly. It's just a fluke, as it were. Let's have a look at this warm-up exercise. You've probably all seen something similar to this before. So what I'm doing there is I'm using one finger per fret. So on index finger on the 5th fret, middle finger on the 6th fret, ring finger on the 7th fret, pinky finger on the 8th, and I'm going across all the strings, being very strict with that pattern. So 5, 6, 7, 8, or index, middle, ring, and pinky. And that's something that you should obviously practice anyway, but also apply to things like learning scales and riffs. So if I'm going to play the A major scale, for example, like this, I'm using the same idea as when I did the warm-up exercise. Learning riffs, for example, if you're going to play a riff like this one, I'm sure you've all heard this one before. to make that easier on myself, I'm being very disciplined with the fingers I'm using. Now I could try and play that with the wrong fingers. I'm going to try that now. I'm going to try this. It's really hard, and because I've practiced that a lot in the past, I'm kind of reverting back to using the correct fingers anyway. So there's a few basics you should really focus on, and it works the same for chords. For example, if you're going to be playing a C chord like this, and then you're going to change to an A minor chord, well, it's obvious you should only move this ring finger from here to here. So let's recap on a few of those things. So let's think about what the problem is that you're actually facing. Are you pressing hard enough? Are you pressing or picking in the right place? And are you doing it in the right way? And make sure what you're doing is within a reasonable goal. So you don't want to set things that are too easy for you to achieve. Good luck.